Hello, and welcome to the November 5th, 2020 Stimulus Review Team meeting. It is a special meeting to consider an application from Ascension via Christie. Before I toss things over to Brent, I would like to take a quick roll call. Hope?
Here.
Brent?
Here.
Melody?
Here.
Dr. Walker? We'll round back to you. Kyle?
Here.
And Jane?
Here.
Cool. And Dr. Walker, are you still with us? I think she's still there. But we'll go ahead and move things over to you, Brent.
Okay. Good morning, and thanks everyone for allowing us to get into your schedules again this morning and for being flexible. I think we've all seen the information in the paper with the critical situation that we've got in the hospitals. And so we're going to take up a request from Ascension that they have submitted to hire some traveling nurses and increase their staff capacity going into this critical time. I think Hope's got some really updated information after what she sent out yesterday, so I'm going to let her summarize this request, and then we'll begin our discussion. Hope.
So the original application that I had sent out was for the $3.4 million request for the traveling nurses. And then Jane had brought up the fact that it was going to, the weeks that they were asking for would be longer than 12/30, which the CARES guidance, of course, says the money must be spent by 12/30. So I went back to our contact and they adjusted the request for the traveling nurses. And so now that new request, and I updated it in our Salesforce system so that way there could be an accurate application for you guys. But the new prorated amount for their ask is going to be $1,680,222. And that's the amount of money that they will spend prior to 12/30.
This is Melissa. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. I got all my unmutes unmuted. I'm going to quote my colleague Jane. The numbers don't add up. So it looks like the census that they're projecting in the period between now and December 30th is 60 patients who have to be isolated because they've tested positive for COVID-19 and they need to be hospitalized. So they, and their request is for 13 weeks, which granted is the wrong number of weeks, but it can be adjusted. They're asking for the difference between the cost of a contract RN or a traveling RN. The cost is $5,600 per week for a contract RN, and the cost that they're incurring to employ an RN who is not a contract RN, which is $1,120 per week. So their request is just asking for the difference between these two, which is $4,480. We're all good. That's what the application says. But the application itself requests $3,494,000, which is $4,480 times 60 times 13 weeks. So the response to you in the email was that the $1,680,222 request was prorated. I don't think so, unless I'm missing something.
I'm not quite sure. The answer that he had given me was that he would give us backup supporting doc if we needed it, but he preferred not to unless he has to because it contains sensitive personal information. So I didn't see your question until this morning, but
that's okay. I didn't send it until late last night because it took me a while to go through the application. So I'm sure that their math and my math is correct, and I'm sure that this doesn't involve naming the people who are going to be hired or who are currently employed as RNs at Via Christi. This is just counting up people and understanding how many people are needed. So he's wanting to hire Via Christi, Ascension Via Christi is wanting to hire 60 contract RNs between now and December 30th.
So from a mathematical perspective, did they just simply align the number?
CEOs are not finance people. I think he just made a mistake, but I'm not sure. You've got to ask.
Well, my question was, did they? Yeah. So, do we need to confirm that they just simply halved? Well, because it was 13 weeks, and it looks like it's more like 7 weeks, which is. Yeah, I see Jane shaking her head. So
it's a little less than 7 weeks.
Yeah.
How many weeks it is depends upon whether they've already hired these contract RNs.
And we don't know.
And if they have, then we can go back in time, which is another question I have. Okay, so Jane, you're the accountant. Am I off base here? Just tell me.
No, but I also think the county is going to pay based on actual payments. So I think in the interest of time, it seems to me we actually maybe could move forward because the county's got to verify hours and when they work. Wouldn't you, Brent? I mean.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to be based on them submitting reimbursement requests. So
I don't know if part of it is, see, my other question was, I think they're comparing apples and oranges in there because the 5,600 includes health insurance. I mean, I believe it does, pension and stuff that they don't have in their Via Christi numbers. So, and his response said that probably is another 20% added to the Via Christi numbers, but it's for 7 weeks, that's not a big number either. So I was going to kind of slide on that one, but maybe he did something with that. Do you think that's possible, Hope?
I mean, yeah, it's probably possible. He didn't give me a whole explanation of how he got to that calculation. So I've asked the question. I don't know how fast they'll get back to us on that. But again, kind of like you had said, we could say we're going to approve up to what the correct number is when the math does come back to us, which I could get back to the team. But I did send him an email right now and ask him if he could give me an explanation of how he got to that number. We don't need the names or anything like that, the confidential information, but just how his math worked to get that figure. So.
But the commission meets this afternoon, was my understanding. So.
Correct. So
I wasn't trying to delay this. I was. Oh, here it is. 448 per week. I saw it and then it disappeared.
Okay, for 6.25 weeks.
Yeah, it says it looks like
It's a quarter.
Yeah.
So he didn't adjust the difference between Via Christi and them. Because I think he's off 20% there, but that's just my opinion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it says, I don't know if everyone can see what's.
Yeah.
I can see it, but I'd like Lindsay to jump on and explain.
Dang it, I was hoping I could just do it via chat.
It's too complicated.
Not that much. No, what I did, if you, so Hope had sent the application last night, and on page 2, there's a section that says method of estimating cost adjustments. And so it explains that a contract RN is approximately $5,600 per week. the average compensation for average compensation for an employed RN right now is $11.20 per week. They think Ascension should incur the cost of the base salary, so they're asking for that difference of $44.80. And then it says there will be 60 contracts. So I took the total assistance sought in that section just below $1,680,222 divided by 60 divided by 44.80, and that brought us to 6.25 weeks, which actually, when you think it might take some time to get some of the things here, that's probably a pretty reasonable assumption.
I think so.
My only good criticism is I think the 1120 should be adjusted for the fringes to compare apples and apples. And that would bring it up to 1344 a week. So the difference would be 4,256 a week times 60 would be 255,360 per week. But that's maybe getting too technical. But it does compare apples and apples, I think, on payroll.
I think it's a good suggestion, Jane.
I do too. Yeah, I don't think it's too technical. I think it's accurate.
Well, I think he kind of lowballed their base cost because the traveling, those, service provider companies, the health insurance and the pension is built into that $5,600 a week. We don't know the details, but I do believe it is. And I believe he used a number of 20% for fringes, which is a reasonable fringe amount. So I came up with $255,360 per week, but maybe I'm being too picky. I can be outvoted on that. So. Is there some reason we have to only do the difference? Is that in the CARES, or is that because they're billing for the base, or why is that? Is that important in what qualifies for CARES is my question.
I would not think that it is if they've hired the contract nurse as a COVID response. But they said in their application that they felt it appropriate that they paid the base amount. And then CARES funds were used for the incremental costs.
But they don't have to do that, so we could increase the allocation.
It's the only risk you run into at that point becomes the billing issue.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you've already got a billing issue, don't you? I mean, if a patient is using public insurance, Medicare or Medicaid, they're going to have to deduct that from the reimbursement, correct?
Well, and that may be why they're choosing to make this application, and I'm totally speculating here. But it could be potentially that the Medicaid and Medicare rates are set, right?
Correct, they are.
You kind of know those rates going in. And so if that was calculated or done based on the flat rate for a nurse, and this is an additional cost over and above that, that may be actually a safer way to go about doing it because they're still allowed to bill those Medicaid, Medicare rates for their normal staffing costs, and CARES is covering the differential. That would be a potential thought on why they did what they did.
That's likely. Good explanation.
I did get a response from my contact at Ascension. He said that he's trying to get a hold of his accountant, the person who did the math. But he said, could the committee set a cap on the dollars, and then we are only appropriated based on actual expenses paid for the contract nurses? He said, I'll get you an answer as soon as I can on the math. But
in addition to an answer on the math, we're also wanting to know if they've hired some of these contract nurses already, because they could get the difference
Right, they could.
back in time. So what we might want to do is approve a request of $3,494,400, like up to that amount, so that if they can go back in time, they can.
That's risky.
Yeah, my preference would be to actually ask that question, and I think Hope has probably already. I don't know. Have you emailed that question, Hope?
Yep, I just sent it.
Okay, my guess
Trying
is
to be speedy.
and you are.
I'd rather approve the 1,680,000, and then we could always in a week add to it, but at least they could move forward with hiring these people if they haven't.
Yeah, I would be able to support that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Kyle, are you have an opinion?
I'm good with the 1 million. I'm sorry, I've been having mic issues, so I've tried to talk twice, but I was kind of getting lost in the numbers, so I appreciate kind of clarification on that. But yeah, I think I'm good with going with that 1 million number and getting them going on the hiring piece. I think I'm okay with that.
Okay, it's 1,680,222.
Right.
So it's more like 1.7 million, just to be clear.
Yes.
Are you still okay, Kyle?
Yes.
Okay.
Is anybody willing to make that motion?
Yeah, I move that we authorize an award to Ascension for up to $1,680,222.
Second.
So we award this, if we award this to them now, they get hired, so we're going to have to let them know we want them to request more if they need it. What's going to be that process?
I think that at that point, they would submit a new application for any other costs. Would that be right, Brent?
Yes.
Yeah, they would submit a new application for us to review and approve that.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Kyle?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to approve $1,680,222 for Ascension. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. We will then take this to the commission this afternoon with the awards that you recommended on Monday. They have a special meeting today at 1:30. I will just let you know that there have been we've gotten some correspondence from Rock Regional Hospital and are working with them. I'll be contacting them right after this meeting. They haven't submitted a formal request, but I would expect that there probably will be one at our meeting on Monday. And I think they're trying to help with housing some of this overflow that we're seeing from the surge in COVID cases.
Brent, this is Melissa. Before we leave Ascension Via Christi, I went back and looked at the earlier requests. So there's a request 139, the last three digits are 139. The total request was $5,383,441. And we approved PPE of $1,323,292 and disinfectant cost of $53,055 on that application. In addition, there was an application from Ascension Via Christi in August, also in August, that totaled $8,611,162. This was the capital request that we set aside for temporary facilities. There was, of that $8.6 million that was requested in August on the application that ends in the last two digits of 33, there was a $1,986,635 request to be reimbursed for work from home. That's how it was labeled on the application. We also received a budget for a capital request, and on that budget, there is the very same number, $1,986,635. Most of the capital request was for demolition and plumbing and HVAC and so on and so forth. But this $1,986,635 was associated not with those costs, but with medical equipment. Wall-mounted physiological monitor, a portable vital sign monitor, telemetry, so on and so forth, which arguably they would need right now if they're projecting a census of 60 patients who are hospitalized with COVID-19 between now and December 30th. So while we're engaged in a conversation with them, I would like to know more about that $1,986,635 request. Is it work from home or is it for medical equipment? And what is the current need?
Okay, I think we can reach out to them and ask them about that to the extent that it's not tied to the capital project. Could be an eligible expenditure. Just depends on where they are with that need at this point. So,
on TV, they keep saying it's not facilities, it's staff. It's
right.
Where their need is, but that's TV. So,
It's likely if the census is double what it was in March that they have equipment needs. You have to monitor patients continuously if they're hospitalized. I'm also kind of surprised that we have to keep nudging applicants.
Yep, me too.
That's our job, I guess. That's Hope's job.
And we don't think Wesley's going to apply, I take it.
We have not, we've got no indication at this point that they're going to.
Okay.
And none of the health clinics
Nothing at this point.
that we haven't already. I think we've done a small amount to Guadalupe.
We did.
Yeah.
But nothing from Grace Med, Hunter Health.
Health Corps.
No.
I don't get it.
Maybe flood your inboxes between now and Monday if they're watching. I would hope so.
They don't seem to be.
We have to make these more interesting meetings, Brent.
Well, what are your suggestions?
I don't have any.
Okay, well.
Well, you could have mimosas delivered every morning, Monday morning.
About an hour before, and then you guys would be. Okay, well, we will reach out to Ascension, make sure that we've got the word out to the other clinics and public health providers, and just continue to solicit and work this program. If everything is approved today, as you have recommended, I think our remaining allocation will be about $4,225,000.
One last ask for the finance team. I only remember one application where there was a request for rent support to avoid evictions, and we approved it. Humankind. Jane mentioned this at our last meeting. We're not seeing anything from the other agencies that serve people who are homeless. And many of those agencies, well, some of those agencies are also involved in housing. And it would be good to encourage them to apply as well for that reason specifically. Evictions are going to be a serious problem in the colder months.
Actually, Center of Hope was for rent, as I recall. That was 192 that we did just a couple weeks ago. That's what they do is rent and utility support. But it wasn't a big ask, but we did approve it.
Yeah. Was that for a reimburse? Had they already expended some of it? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, those were the ones that they'd specifically identified as being COVID-related late rent.
And so the same applies to any other agency that's providing housing services now. If they can make those late rents go away for this year, for calendar 2020, then maybe it'll give them more of a buffer in the cold winter months.
And then I have a question for just a confirmation, Lindsay, if you're still on, or whoever else may be able to answer the question. Should we be prepared to look at the recommendations on the municipalities on Monday? No,
Not by Monday.
Not by Monday. Okay.
I understand that their deadline, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that their deadline is 11/12 to submit information, and then it will go through the review process before it even makes it to you all, just to make sure that things look appropriate.
Very good.
So hopefully that should be much less time intensive for you. I know Kyle's hoping that too.
Can you say more about what we'll be called upon to do in that review? What's our charge?
We'll be looking at, as the municipalities submit their, their receipts to match up with the funds that they've been given, and to the extent that those exceed what they've received so far and are asking for additional funds. We'll get a report from our internal auditors that everything looks to be compliant with the CARES eligibility requirements, and they'll say municipality X has a total award of $100,000. They've gotten 50. They've given us receipts up to $75,000. Everything looks good. We're requesting that you approve an additional $25,000 disbursement to them. So,
well, how much detail do we have? I mean, do we just rely on the county totals or what?
That's sort of what I've envisioned. We can certainly provide you with all of that detail if you want it.
Well, I don't know if I want it.
I don't want it.
I mean, I don't know how what role could we have if we don't really know what we're doing?
Yeah, so with this process, we know the financial risk assessment, we know the priority assessment, and actually, Erin, I emailed you about this. You sent an updated list of who's been funded, but I'd like 2 more columns, one with the ranking for the priority and the other, the financial assessment ranking for each of the entities that we've funded.
Yep, I saw that this morning, Dr. Walker, and we'll get on it.
Yeah, can we at least get some detail in, so much of this is payroll for public health? I mean, not just big totals, because we would have no idea.
How about with the first one, maybe the first 2, we'll walk through the detail and walk through the process that the auditors have gone through.
That'd be good.
then you've kind of got a flavor of what we're doing as
Okay.
we're walking through those.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I think-
that way, that provides that foundational understanding of what we're looking for.
Well, I read all the stuff Lindsay sent us, so
Yeah.
I'm along all the different categories, but kind of overwhelming, though.
Well, I'm not anticipating that if we walked through all those receipts, that the meetings would be that much more interesting. So,
I don't want all the receipts. I wanted some level of detail, just something.
okay. Well, we'll walk through the first two in a little more detail so that you've got that, and then we can kind of move from there.
I'm sure the one from Derby will be perfect. Right, Kyle?
100%, Jane, you're right on there.
Maybe we could do one of the small cities. Let's not start with Wichita, for example.
Okay.
Also, it'd be good if the team, the Sedgwick County team, could clarify what it is they're asking us to do. It seems like other outside advisors are looking at these expenditures and saying yes or no, they fit the CARES guidelines. So you're probably not asking us to do that. And it's unlikely that you're asking us to validate the expenditures because we can't. I mean, you're doing that. So we just need more clarification about what specifically you're asking of us. And we need to have the information that we need in order to be able to give you the feedback that you're asking for. Just summarizing what everybody's saying.
Yeah, head of the meeting. Yeah, that'd be good.
Sure. Okay.
Due diligence.
All very doable. Okay.
Has the money checks actually gone out to these agencies?
I think we're in the process now of, I don't know of any checks that have gone out. We're still verifying their receipts and so forth, unless some were approved in the last day that I don't know about.
Okay, but we don't see anything again, right?
From the ones that have been approved?
Right, no, okay, that's fine, okay.
Those we're actually qualified to review. Not that I'm saying we should.
Yeah, that's true. But clearly there was a lot of need in these groups, so I can't believe they're not needing the cash. Some of them.
Have yet to speak with a social service organization or a healthcare organization that is not seriously struggling right now.
Right. I wish we had some money for cultural groups because they're really struggling too.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
COVID related, but not in the way CARES Act is thinking.
No, it's not social service or public health, I'm afraid, unless it's public mental health.
We did receive a couple of applications since Monday for a couple of groups that aren't really public health related. And we're going to redirect them to and they were small numbers, we're redirecting them to our business and nonprofit group. And so those they fit better there, and there's enough, the size of those grants would take care of the requests that they made of us, $2,500, $3,000. So that continues to leave money in this pool for more focused on public health. So
That's good because that's really where the need is right now.
mhm.
Okay, so 9 o'clock Monday?
9 o'clock Monday morning.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay, appreciate everyone's time this morning. I would consider a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second it so it doesn't die for lack of second.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Meeting's adjourned. Thanks again. We'll see you Monday.
Enjoy this beautiful weather.
Yes.
Will do. You too.
Bye.